Hello and welcome to the Stronghold Digital Mining Daily Update. Today is Tuesday, September 26, 2023. Let's get right into the substance of this. So let's pull up the first slide, please. This morning, locational marginal pricing, okay, within PJM, you can see that little purple or violet spot. That represents PJM PP&L. That's the zone of the PJM grid I happen to live at. And back to me, please. It also happens to be the zone of the grid where this particular waste coal reclamation facility is located, Panther Creek. So here's a question. If we've got grid prices that are sub $10, in this case they were like $8, why would Panther Creek be running? Now, this is something that some of you veterans, right, we've talked about this in the past, but I think it really merits being revisited right now for reasons that you'll understand in a moment. So why would the plant be running instead of necessarily just pulling in electricity, right, from the grid at dramatically lower prices? So let's pull up the next slide, please. Okay. Full plant power utilization is optimal for our revenue growth as it also drives a higher volume of Tier 2 RECs, which are renewable energy credits, waste coal tax credits, and beneficial use ash sales, as well as the increased electricity supply for the crypto asset operations. Back to me, please. Okay, so that's directly from, I believe, our Q2 2023 Form 10Q. Now, that contains a big part of the answer. Okay, there's a lot of things that need to be taken into consideration when Stronghold Digital Mining, right, determines whether or not it makes the most sense to curtail the use of the power plant, meaning, run it in low power mode and import the overwhelming majority of the electricity from the grid to power the data centers, which in turn mine a crypto asset known as Bitcoin. Okay. Now, when we talk about Tier 2 RECs, right, or renewable energy credits, what exactly are we talking about, and what type of financial impact does this have on Stronghold Digital Mining? Okay, now let's pull up the next slide, please. So in the year 2021, REC revenue was $1,736,071. In 2022, last year, REC revenue jumped to $9,960,655. In the first 6 months of 2023, with REC prices well above $30, we pulled in $10.4 million, right, through June 30th of this year in REC revenue. Back to me, please. $10.4 million for the first 6 months of 2023, as compared to something like $9+ million, $9.96 million in all of 2022. Bear in mind, the huge jump from 2021 to 2022 really just had to do with the fact that we were taking both Scrubgrass and the newly acquired Panther Creek waste coal remediation facilities, bringing them up to full baseload performance capacity so that they could run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So just doing that alone, by its very nature, is going to mean that these power plants are generating more electricity. The jump from about 9.9 million in all of 2022 to like well over 10 million just for the first 6 months in 2023, it's not because, we're magically running these plants. We discovered, how to get more hours out of the day of usage. It really has to do with the increase, the remarkable increase in the price of these renewable energy credits or RECs. So why am I pointing this out? And by the way, just for a little bit additional clarity, let's turn to an even more authoritative source on this topic. Let's hear what our Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Gregory Beard, let's hear what Greg had to say during our Q1 2023 investor presentation as it relates to this very topic. Let's listen in.
If you see power prices well below 30 and say, hey, and you're wondering, hey, why are you running the plants anyway? The answer is because we need to net out, or there are other considerations like renewable energy credits that we're using in our calculations.
Did you catch that? There are other considerations like renewable energy credits that we're using as part of our calculations. And I'm paraphrasing there a little bit. Listen, these renewable energy credits are like really, really proving to be helpful. They're not a silver bullet, but they are incredibly helpful. So just imagine now for a moment, if in addition to all the credits and RECs and different things that we're able to tap into now, what if we are successfully able to tap in to the carbon credits that are part of the Inflation Reduction Act? I mean, if we're in the first 6 months of 2023, essentially generating, without getting into the accounting specifics of how RECs are treated, I don't want to sort of like delve into that in this particular broadcast, but just to keep it simple, hey, REC revenue of $10.4 million in the first 6 months of 2023. Imagine if then on the other side, in terms of CO2 coming out of our facilities, imagine if we were able to monetize every ton of CO2, which again, it's a win-win, right? It's a win for the environment because we're not just getting a credit for generating CO2, we'd be getting a credit for taking that CO2, capturing it, sequestering it, or potentially using it, right, for sort of like recycling it, to sort of keep it super simple. But imagine being able to derive an actual economic benefit for doing that, so that we might have a business that, depending on what, the RECs, or not the RECs, but the carbon credits in the Inflation Reduction Act, that's like fixed in place. The renewable energy credits, that's sort of like a dynamic market for that, so that can fluctuate. They were like under like $1 a number of years ago. So that market has really exploded. My point is, like, imagine if suddenly you have a business where a lot of your costs are being mitigated. Okay. And then on top of that, imagine you finally, as is expected to be the case, you catch the sort of the tailwind of a very, very robust bull run in Bitcoin, right? Not just the price of Bitcoin, but a bull run really insofar as Bitcoin mining economics. And then add to that the variability and opportunity that still exists to capture, right, moments when grid prices, right, when energy prices spike, be it for 3 to 4 hours during a particular day, maybe for a couple of days, being able to capture that economic situation, right, being able to like tap into the grid and say, hey, we'll be like net sellers of electricity to the grid if the mathematics make sense, right? If grid prices are more favorable than Bitcoin mining economics, having that as an opportunity, I really do think that we are, if you can imagine like a slingshot and you're just kind of slowly pulling back and pulling back and pulling back and pulling back, we're getting to that point where when we finally, kind of like release, sort of like, really launch and we start getting these revenue inputs that really aren't entirely under our control, right? We don't really control grid prices. We don't really control Bitcoin mining economics. But just imagine for a moment what our situation is going to look like. Because right now we're kind of like treading water, and that's, look, that's not optimal, but it sure beats, hey, staying above water is a whole lot, preferable to being underwater, right? Or sinking to the bottom of the proverbial ocean. So I just wanted to highlight what's going on with REC revenue just this year alone. Bear in mind also, this might be a good topic for a separate broadcast, but I believe in 2022, our ash sale, right, our beneficial use ash sales, I believe they were reported in our 10K as being something in the vicinity of like 51,000 some odd dollars. This year alone, in 2023, the guidance that, and this is, hey, we're not baking this into any models, we're going to, hey, let the company have this as upside, right? But the thinking is that ash sales can kind of be closer to the ballpark of about roughly here, about $1 million US dollars. $51,000 last year, maybe somewhere upwards of, who knows, right? 600,000, 800,000, maybe even $1 million in beneficial use hash sales this year alone. So let's see what the next couple of weeks and months have in store for this company. I'm anticipating that we will eventually, I think the first thing we're going to hear about that's sort of like on the bigger side of things is, hey, this 25 megawatts of end-to-end Bitcoin data center infrastructure, where's that going to go? How are we planning to fill that data center? I think that's probably right first in line to be discussed, but not that long after. I think we're going to hear something at some point sooner, relatively sooner than later, with regard to the opportunity that exists to monetize our CO2. And again, it's a win-win for the environment, and then it's a win for the company as well. So RECs are looking incredibly good. I mean, it's kind of astonishing, really. So again, this is one of the benefits. This is one of the benefits of our truly vertically integrated model. You know, I hear the term vertically integrated being thrown around a lot. And when I dig deeper, I'm not sure that I'm seeing anything that really resembles what we do, right? Where we actually own like power plants that are producing electricity. And, right. And then, all the way down the stack through, hey, we own the data center. We own the overwhelming majority of our Bitcoin mining machines. So, you talk about like true vertical integration. That's what I think of more so when I think of vertically integrated. So one of the benefits is, hey, we have these assets and they produce megawatts of electricity, which qualify for renewable energy credits. These assets produce carbon dioxide, right? CO2. Well, hey, that is going to put us in a position to potentially, right, do something good for the environment while at the same time doing something great for ourselves, right, for shareholders. So these are all really cool things, and I'm really increasingly convinced that I really do think that we have got to have, right, by definition almost, among the very lowest costs of power in the entire Bitcoin mining ecosystem. And I think that's going to be especially critical as we go into the halving sometime in 2024. Okay, that's all I wanted to really talk about today. I hope you're having a phenomenal day. Let's stay positive, let's be great, and we'll see each other again tomorrow.